Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's May the 5th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And really, it was kind of another mixed day. We closed up for the day, but we closed way off the highs. Um, we were up, we were down, we were up, we were down, and again, it was just kind of a mixed day in the end. But we did close higher. So um, we had the FOMC announcement today. It was they didn't make any changes to the rates. I really thought they would probably lower rates by a quarter point. Trump's been hollering for it, but they didn't do it. So I thought really we would have a lot of craziness today, but we really didn't. I mean, obviously we had some, the market moved a little bit at the news, but it wasn't anything like what I was expecting it might be. And you never know with FOMC. But I would say it's probably the biggest market mover of all the news items. So you got to be careful with it and be flat probably at least an hour before, even when it doesn't have much effect. You can't take a chance on it. So always be flat on that thing, regardless. So, but yeah, more sideways today. We did bounce a little bit, close a little bit higher, but I just call this sideways stuff here. So not much change. But you see it there. Let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart and take a look at it, and we'll go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day up. And here it is. You can see we're just kind of chopping sideways. And, one time we sold off, then one time we rallied, and then sold off a little more. And we ended up closing higher, but it's just a mixed trading day that closes higher. It's really all you got here. So most all of it's within the overnight highs and lows, except this little bit early on during the news that drove it a little lower. So, but we took it all back within probably an hour, and actually we took it all back in 40 minutes or so, and then we just kind of chopped around after that. But early on there was plenty of good trades. Wasn't a whole lot this afternoon. And obviously you miss an hour of the trading day today, but prior to that there's plenty of trades here. Let's zoom in. You had to be patient, a little bit patient this morning, because you had to wait. 7 o'clock came as we're trending lower here. And I just don't see anything in here. You're sideways, no setups, sideways. We're just kind of chopping around. Finally, you do make a new low here, and you get a first entry. And then we tried to go higher and turn back down. That's a second entry short. As long as there's room to scalp out, you can go short there. That was a quick, easy trade. And then all of a sudden, you get a triple test here. But I don't think that signal bar is quite good enough. But then suddenly you get a higher low. And I marked this one green because it looks a little congested, and we closed under the EMA there, and we're in a downtrend. So it's probably going to be good for a scalp. The thing too is it doesn't really tick higher till this bar, and you really don't want to go long on a engulfing bar, or I'm sorry, on an inside bar. And this is an engulfing bar, so you'd have to wait for this to close, and then you want it to break higher. And it really doesn't break higher till the following bar, so I really think you should just skip that trade. It is a nice higher low, and I didn't want to forget to talk about it, so I noted it, but I would skip that trade completely. And, maybe if you want to be super aggressive, you enter there, but I think you're better off to skip that. Of course, we run up, close outside, move to a new high. Now, I didn't mark this one. You could take this trade, and technically I think this is a first entry, so a second entry, and this is like a third entry, but you get to close outside and a couple of swings to a new high. So maybe you take that trade. It looks a little sideways and congested to me. I think you're better off to skip it. But it was a good trade, and it did work out. It turned out to be a nice trade, but you can see that little congestion there. But generally when that's happening far away from the EMA, prices are still going to go back. It's just the timing of it. Does it break out and fail and turn back in and stop you out before it goes lower? So that's the issue with the trade like that. So I'm gonna leave it green. I think it needs to be green. Then we get another test of the support here. There's a 2-bar matching low there. Good signal bar. I like going long there. There's a higher low here, but it's engulfing bar, and it's moved too far by this time. But we do get a reversal. Notice you got a new low here. First entry, second entry. When it breaks above that bar, that's a failure, second entry failure on a reversal pattern. So maybe you take that. Again, 99% of you should stay away from these type trades because you're just going to put yourself in the hole trying to trade them. They're for very experienced traders, very advanced traders. And I try to say that every time, and that's why I mark them green. Um, you really need to know what you're doing here to trade these. So, but turns out to be a good one. Then we're just chopping sideways. And I don't really see a decent signal bar here until we got a triple test off the lows here, and then we had another one here. I like that trade. There is a little 2-bar matching high here, so you technically could go short on that one. Um, I'm not crazy about it. I didn't like it personally in real time. I wouldn't have taken it, so I'm not going to mark it. And it's a shame because we end up dropping on down, but who wants to ride all that out and face getting stopped out? And somebody might say, okay, why didn't you go short on this lower one? But you can clearly see the congestion and prices right at the midline there. We'd bounced a couple of times there, so I think it's dangerous. I think you need another test with a good signal bar, and you just don't get one. And the bottom finally just drops out. But you get a break here. Notice first entry, second entry, nice signal bar. That's a perfect second entry. That's what you want to see. Just take that trade. You get another one. Actually, it's right here, but that bar is just, notice the new low, first entry, second entry, but you can't enter on that. So there is a lower high, but it doesn't, this is your signal bar, so again, no trade. Then you get a failed breakout. If you'd had a good signal bar here and or a higher low, maybe you go long, and you do get a higher low here, but you're almost back to the highs. When you're trading a range rules, you want to get short at, you want to go short off the resistance or long off the support. And when you're way back already to the other side, you're getting ready to look for a short. You don't want to go long there. And you do get a second entry short here. This one's a little big too, but you still have plenty of room on this one, where this one you don't have much room left. So I think this one's a little better option. And it takes a minute, but it does work out. And then you're kind of stuck in this middle of the range, if that makes sense. But there's no setups there that I like. And then we actually break out here and fail, but there's no setup to go short. Then we test this support again, and you get a good signal bar, go long there. Runs out, and then we're just chopping sideways here. But notice we do get a close outside and a couple of swings up. And I marked this one just because we got the close outside and a new high, and then this was a lower high. And that signal bar is close to being not qualifying, but I think it closes in the lower 1/3. So you could take that. You know, you don't end up getting anything but a scalp out of it. The key is you got to have enough room back to the EMA here. And you might argue for that one to be green. I wouldn't say you were wrong. So this bar is just too big. You don't want to enter there. Then it reverses again, and you can't go long right there into that resistance. And this takes us up into the 12 noon hour, and so you got to be flat during all this. And you can see when it opened up, it was a little crazy for a minute before dropping, and then it took it all back in about 30 or 40 minutes. There was a second entry long right here coming out of that news, but I think it's still a little early to go long to enter yet. But by here, there's another second entry, first entry. Notice the new high here. First entry, pull back. When it breaks above that bar, it's a second entry. Right off the EMA. I like that trade. Comes back, gives you a higher low, but I don't think you want to take that. And then nothing else here until we get a close outside the new high, but there's no setup. This one is tempting, but you'd have to enter it on the engulfing bar, and I don't think that's the spot where you want to enter on the engulfing bar. The bar is mostly bullish, so that would kind of qualify for an engulfing entry, but those things are tricky, and they'll mess you up, and I think you're better off to skip that one. A couple of bars later, you get a reversal pattern anyway. Notice the new high, first entry, second entry, and you can clearly see two swings there. So when that fails, you could go short one tick below that. I marked it green. It's a reversal. It's not for everybody, like I said on the last one down there. But you know, if you're qualified to trade them, you might trade those. So But you get a break here. It tries to make a new low and fails and gives you a higher low. There's still plenty of room back to the EMA. I like going long there. This one kind of takes off. You might get a runner on that one. Runs up. You get a close outside. It tries to go higher. So really what it breaks higher there and fails and turns down. And that's another engulfing one. Look how bullish that is. That's going to trap the bulls there. So I like that one. But again, that's an engulfing bar. And 99% of you should just stay clear of it. Just watch it. That's just a first entry, and first entry. But here, notice we had a break and two legs down to a new low, and we kind of make a double bottom with a nice signal bar. I like going long there. It looked like it was bottom, we were reversing, but it doesn't. It ends up making another move down. And I don't see any way to enter short here, and then we're just chopping in this thing, and you don't want to go long or short out of that right there. Go ahead and draw it so you can see what make sure you see it the way I'm seeing it. Yeah, you can't enter in that. So, and that took us into 230. So yeah, no rate cut today. The market kind of stays neutral, more sideways. Again, we did trade up, but not by much. But mostly just sideways, choppy day again. So the market seems to be stuck on this choppiness. So anyway, we'll see what tomorrow brings. But I did go back for a follow-up visit with my doctor today, just to fill you in real quick. I'm going to have some minor surgery on May the 22nd, so about 2 weeks away. So I'm probably going to take that. I'll probably have to take at least a day off, maybe a couple of days there, depending on how I'm feeling. So I'm not even sure what the calendar looks like for that. Let me just open my calendar here on my phone and see what that looks like. How that might affect the trading days here. Bear with me just a minute while I get my calendar up. The 22nd is on a Thursday. So, yeah, I'll probably we'll just have an early week that week, because usually I don't do a chart lesson on Fridays anyway. So I probably won't have one that Thursday or Friday. And they said within a day or two I won't be able to lift anything heavy for a while, they said, but I should be back to getting around and driving and going back to work, as long as I'm not doing anything physical for a few weeks. So I should be back in the office. So we should be back going Monday. That would be Monday the 26th. So yeah, we'll talk more about it when we get closer to that date and I know more, but it sounds like I'll be out taking the 22nd and the 23rd off. So just kind of mark that on your calendars, and I'll continue to update you. But again, I appreciate all the notes and emails and the prayers and all that good stuff. I'm really blessed. It could have been, a lot worse news than what I got. And the doctor said it's going to be a robotic procedure and very, very minimal invasiveness. And so going to be pretty simple. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. And today is Wednesday, right? Yes. And tomorrow's Thursday, so that'll wrap up our week. I don't know where the days go. When you stay as busy as I am, time flies. So anyway, I hope you had a good trading day today. For what we had, it wasn't a bad day considering. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. I'm going to wrap it up for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And we'll see you next time.